Common problems that you'll face when dieting are hunger, cravings, lack of motivation, and diet fatigue. And at some point, these have probably ruined your weight loss journey. So here's how you're going to overcome them. Cravings. The more weight you lose, the hungrier you're going to get, obviously, right? And this is because your body doesn't want you losing any fat. And this is just from an evolutionary standpoint. Here's how to fix it. It's very boring, but you eat more low-calorie, dense food. Food that is going to really fill you up. Food that takes up a lot of space in your stomach. These are going to be things like fruits, veggies, etc. Now, one secret tip that I use on a daily basis is that before and after every single time that I eat, I have 2 big glasses of water. Before I eat food, I have like half of this, and that is before and after every meal. If you don't have one of these, then 2 big glasses of water are really gonna help. It's gonna fill out your stomach. And trust me, if you're still hungry after you drink those 2 glasses before and after your meal, you have the appetite of like a lion. Another way to curb cravings is to actually eat less low calorie but really tasty desserts. Now, you're probably thinking this is very counterproductive, but let me tell you my story. So when I first started losing weight, I went on TikTok and I started looking at all of these low calorie desserts like cheesecakes, milkshakes, and cookies and donuts and all of this stuff. And for the first few weeks it worked. I was eating them and it was fine. But the problem is the food was far too tasty. And what ended up happening is as I got further along in my fat loss phase, even though there were low calorie items, I still ended up overeating them because they were just far too tasty. And that brought me out of my deficit for weeks. The key point here is just because a dessert is low calorie, it doesn't mean that you can't overeat on a low calorie item. It will be harder, but it's calories in, calories out. You're still going to be overeating. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have tasty food on your diet. I'm not saying that at all. But just make sure that the food isn't too tasty to the point where you're just going to keep craving it and eventually overeating on it like I did. And if you're really struggling with cravings on your diet, then just eat more of your diet food. Even if you're like 500 calories over, at least it's not like 5,000 on like burgers and fries and ice cream and all of that crazy stuff. Next up is good old motivation. Now, when we start a fat loss phase, we like getting all pumped up and motivated. And this is because you're relying on a limited resource, which is motivation. Motivation and willpower, it doesn't last forever. It's a finite resource. Think of your motivation like money. You start off the day with all of your money, your motivation, and throughout the day you keep making these decisions. And if you're relying on motivation, you keep plucking from that pot of motivation, and by the time you get to the end of the day, you open your wallet and the bank's empty. You got no motivation left. And for you to keep making the right decisions, it becomes extremely hard for you because of all of the motivation that you've spent throughout the day. And with a lack of motivation, it's harder to make the right decisions, and that's when you open the freezer and you dive headfirst into a pint of ice cream. I've been there and I've done it. You ain't the only one. So think of motivation like money. If you play video games, think of motivation as your secondary weapon. You have your primary weapon, which is like, I don't know, like an assault rifle or something. And your secondary weapon is like a pistol. Motivation is your secondary weapon. It's there if you need it, but it shouldn't be your go-to. I recommend that your go-to, your primary weapon, your crutch, if you will, is a process. Rely on a process, don't rely on motivation. James Smith used a really good example, and he said, become obsessed with the process, not the results that you're going to gain from said process. I paraphrase that, but you get what I'm trying to say. If you rely on a process and a structure, you're not going to have to use any motivation, because if you have a structure in place, you know what you need to do day in and day out. And this is why I stress the importance of having an accountability tracker. You can visually see the process that I'm talking about. I can look at my accountability tracker and be like, ooh, I got 5 crosses. Maybe, you know what, let's try get a tick today. And I do the behaviors, I commit to the behaviors that are gonna get me a tick in that box. I wake up in the morning and I wake up in the morning and I think to myself, okay, what do I need to do to get a tick in that box? I have to do X, Y, Z. Okay, let's go. And you just do it. There's no motivation. There's no, oh, I have to be really good today because I listened to a motivation podcast. No, there's none of that at all. None. A well-organized system will beat motivation any day of the week. Remember that. Somebody should put that on a t-shirt or something. Next is diet fatigue. Diet fatigue is that point in your diet where you are really strung out and you just mentally, you're thinking to yourself, man, I cannot do this anymore. You're like down bad when it comes to dieting. It gets so bad it feels like the Grim Reaper is just standing over you, ready to take your head off at any moment. To combat this, we take diet breaks. Now, a diet break is just a break from your diet. Usually you take them for about 1 week and you're going to be eating at your maintenance calories, and then after that week you drop back down into your deficit. This is good for a number of reasons. Just mentally it's fantastic because you get away from that headspace, you get out of that diet mentality, and it kind of just gives you a little reset. And also amazing for training. You're going to have more calories than usual, which means you're going to have more energy, and that means that you can work out harder, you can push even harder in the gym, keep training hard, and you have more energy that you can use in the gym. The important thing is with diet breaks is that you want to schedule them into your plan before you start your diet. Now, this is important because if you just do it on a whim and you're thinking, oh, I can't take it anymore, I'm just going to take a diet break. The problem with that is that there's no structure to it. So you may take that week, but then what's stopping you from taking another week, and then another week, and then another week, and then before you know it, you've spent like half of your fat loss phase just back at maintenance and the other half losing weight, which basically negates the whole process. So make sure you schedule them in, but it is also a very great way of breaking up the monotony of dieting. Now, when are you going to be taking a diet break? This is usually when you're going to be really, really strung out, when you just feel like crap, and you're at that point where you're really, really ready just to give into your diet. How often should you take a diet break? Usually you're going to be looking at 1 to 2, but it depends on your fat loss phase. I know for me, if I'm on an 8-week fat loss phase, which is what I usually do, at week 4, that's when I have my diet breaks. Around that halfway mark, that's when I start caving in, because the previous 3 weeks before that, I know I have something to look forward to. And then for the rest of the duration of my fat loss phase, I know I have a little bit of extra energy to keep pushing. So take a diet break when you're strung out, take about 1 to 2 of them, depending on your duration of your fat loss phase. Make sure that they're only like 1 week, and make sure that you train extra hard in the gym because you have the extra energy to do so. Don't let it go to waste. I can tell you're going to be successful in your weight loss journey, but a lot of people end up regaining all of the weight back. So to avoid being one of those people, click that video.